Hey there! Welcome to Chief's Shop and to Hey Chief, where I answer your questions about woodworking and projects that I've created. First two questions this episode really are kind of about the same thing, so I'm kind of addressing them both at the same time. But the first one is from Jalais, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, then please correct me later. I like the skirt and the mudroom bench, and that was a sketch of the day, and it wound up being a quick project as well. And the pop of color in the supports. How do you figure the correct length of a support, and how do you choose the correct angle to cut the ends? I want to make a short bench for the ends of a table, but can't figure out how to make the correct angle. Alright, well, what she's referring to, and there's a graphic here that's showing you exactly the project she's talking about. It's basically a bracket that goes between two, let's say a leg and a rail. And she's wanting to know how to determine this. What I do is really easy to do in SketchUp, obviously, so that's the easiest way to do it. But if you're in the shop trying to figure it out, you want to measure the same distance from here to here, and then from here to here. Make that mark, and that distance is going to be the inside. For this case, this bracket is a 45-degree angle. That's going to be the inside of that miter. So you can start there, measure that. On your piece that you're cutting, start from that point and go that way. It's real easy to do that. As long as you've got a 45-degree angle on both ends, just fit it up until it is flush on both sides. Easiest way if you're just kind of doing it on the fly in the shop. Like I said, something like SketchUp, it's real easy to determine that. So if you know the width of the board that you're going to be putting in there, real easy to do in SketchUp. Now, Frank's question is very similar, along the same lines. He's asking about a project he's working on. He's building a chest of drawers for his son. He would like to know how to attach a triangle at the bottom of the box to help keep it square. And I'm assuming he's talking about little brackets that go underneath. I'll give you an example in this chair of what he's talking about. You can see under here, these are basically just squaring up this chair, and these are run in little grooves here, basically a little mortise and tenon deal that's working on this. And he wants to do the same kind of thing on a chest of drawers to square the big box up. And Frank, that's going to be the same kind of process I just described for Jalais. You're just wanting to create a block that goes in there that keeps each corner stable. And a 45-degree angle is what you want there. Now, as far as attaching these, you can use pocket hole joinery. You can just use a long screw. You can tack them in. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, but you want to make sure that they're stable. But the main thing is to keep a 45-degree angle on both sides, and that will make it fit snug in there, as long as the rest of it's square. But it helps bring it into square. Particularly when you're talking about something like a chest of drawers. On the mudroom bench project, that's really more decorative than anything because I've got it squared up otherwise, but it just helps in that situation. All right, and the last question is from Barney. And Barney says that his basement recently flooded, and I'm sorry about that. And he's thinking about using that as an excuse to redo his workshop, which I think is a great idea. He wants to know if I've got any ideas, drawings, or things to think about when redoing or starting over a workspace. Number one thing I like to tell everyone is to put everything on casters that you can. You never know when you need a little bit more space somewhere so you can move things around. I have practically everything in my shop on casters, so I can move it at any time. I don't have a big workspace, unfortunately. I wish I did. But I'm sure I have a bigger space than most people, but I'm able to move anything around. If I've got a large project I've got to work on, I've done bunk beds, I've done huge bookcase assemblies, and I've moved things out so I could work on it. You want to create easy access to power, so if you've had an issue before where you've had to kind of fumble around, make sure that you are considering that, so either doing some rewiring or positioning outlets at different place, or doing some drop cords, anything like that. Add extra lighting if you can. Lighting is extremely important. I've done little things like adding little undermount lighting in a situation here. And consider dust collection and ventilation if you haven't before. So, kind of starting from scratch. Now, the big thing is to think about your workflow. And you want to position your tools and benches to accommodate that. Now, for my situation, I have a bench here that I'm standing behind that serves for assembly. I've got storage underneath for various power tools that I can grab real quick and work with. It's also my outfeed table for my table saw, and it's on casters, so I can move it around, whatever I need to do. I then have the miter saw area back here, so when I rip something off the table saw, which is right over here, I pull it off, I can do my measurement, whatever, pop it over here and cut it. So this works well for me. Your situation may be different. I've added some shelving obviously here. I've used the Gladiator system with the hooks and various storage methods here, so I can grab things quickly. I've also got a lot of storage around here. I've got various things inside these cabinets that I can grab real quick. The main thing is access. Make sure you can access things. And again, the accessibility and movability of things being on casters. Flooring is a big thing too. Now I have a few mats. In fact, I'm standing on one right now, for particularly in areas I'm going to be standing a lot, stationary. And if you're in a more northern area, Barney, I think you're in Missouri, so it may not get quite as cold, but certain areas where insulation may be a helpful factor. I wrote a story for Woodcraft magazine a couple years ago that discussed this, that some of the flooring options can give you a little bit of an insulating factor. Comfort is the big thing too, but with mobility, with having things on casters, when you have mats down, that's going to cause an issue with things moving around. So my mats, I use some of the interlinking mats. I can pick those up and move those around if I need to move my table around, my table saw, whatever around that I need to. So if you're going to be doing an entire floor, make sure you cover that whole floor so that things won't catch on the flooring and all that. But I think mats are a great option. I'm in Alabama, so I don't have to worry about keeping the floor warm. It's more of a heat issue in the atmosphere more than anything. But those key things, the mobility, accessibility, but it's your opportunity now that you're redoing that whole basement to factor in all these things and really make it how you want to do it. A lot of times in shops, we kind of tack things on as we need it, and we're not necessarily thinking about the overall design and workflow that we need. So you've got a great opportunity to kind of start over and kind of make it how you want it to be. Well, I hope you found these answers to questions helpful, and I encourage you to email me with any questions, again, about woodworking in general or about projects that I've created. And like I always like to say, time to get off the computer, get into the workshop, and make some sawdust.